The first time Adrian Vale put a gun to Elena Rossi's head, she smiled at him. Not because she wasn't afraid, because she knew something he didn't. "Pull the trigger," she whispered, "and you'll never find your sister." Adrian's finger stopped. For the first time in 12 years, the most feared man in Chicago had no idea what to do next. The gun remained pressed against Elena's temple as rain hammered against the windows of the abandoned warehouse. Around them, 6 of Adrian's men stood with their weapons drawn, waiting for a single movement from their boss. Elena didn't move. Her hands were zip-tied behind her back. Blood stained the sleeve of her white blouse. One side of her face was bruised from the beating she'd taken getting there. Yet somehow, she looked more dangerous than anyone in the room. Adrian stared into her grey eyes. "Say that again. Your sister." His jaw tightened. "My sister has been dead for 11 years. "No." Elena's voice was quiet. "She's been missing for 11 years. The warehouse went silent. Adrian lowered the gun by half an inch. "Who told you that?" "Your father." That name changed everything. Adrian's expression hardened. His father had been dead for 7 years, and Elena Rossi was the daughter of the man Adrian had spent the last decade trying to destroy. Matteo Rossi, the man responsible for his mother's death, the man who had ordered the ambush that nearly killed Adrian at 24, the man whose family Adrian had sworn to erase from Chicago's criminal empire. And now his daughter was standing in front of him, claiming she knew the truth about the one wound Adrian had never managed to close. His missing sister. "Get everyone out," Adrian said. His men exchanged confused glances. "Boss, now." Within seconds, the warehouse emptied. The metal door slammed shut. Rain continued pounding the roof. Adrian and Elena were alone. He finally lowered the gun. But he didn't put it away. "You have 30 seconds. Elena raised an eyebrow. "For what?" "To convince me you're not lying." She gave him a tired smile. "If I were lying, I'd have chosen something more useful than the truth." 20 seconds. "Your sister's name is Sofia." Adrian froze. No one outside his family knew that name, not even his closest men. Elena continued. "She was 13 when she disappeared. Your father told everyone she ran away." Adrian's eyes narrowed. "She didn't." "No." "Then where is she?" "I don't know." His grip tightened around the gun. "Wrong answer. It's the only honest one I have. You expect me to believe you?" "No." Elena looked directly into his eyes. "I expect you to believe your own instincts." Adrian stepped closer. "What exactly did my father tell you?" 3 weeks before he died, he came to my apartment. Adrian said nothing. He was scared. My father wasn't scared of anyone. He was scared of you. That landed harder than Elena expected. Adrian's face became unreadable. "What did he say?" "He told me that if anything happened to him, I was supposed to find you." "Why?" "Because you're the only person powerful enough to uncover what happened to Sofia." Adrian stared at her. For years, he had believed his father had abandoned Sofia. For years, he had believed the Rossi family had known where she was. For years, he had blamed Matteo Rossi for everything. But Elena was telling him something else, something that could destroy the foundation of his entire war against the Rossi family. "You expect me to believe Matteo Rossi suddenly grew a conscience?" "I expect you to stop pretending you already know the truth." Adrian stepped closer until only inches separated them. "You have no idea what you're talking about." "I know exactly what I'm talking about." "You've spent your entire life surrounded by liars. So have you." Her answer was immediate. Adrian studied her. Most people couldn't hold his stare for more than a few seconds. Elena didn't look away. That irritated him. It also fascinated him. He hated both feelings. "Why did you come to me?" "I didn't." His brow furrowed. "You had me kidnapped. I was brought here." "By whom?" Elena's expression changed. For the first time, Adrian saw genuine fear in her eyes. "Your men." Adrian turned toward the door. "Which men?" "I don't know their names." "What did they look like?" "Black suits, silver pins." Adrian's eyes narrowed. His organization didn't use silver pins. Never had. Anything else? Elena hesitated. One of them had a scar. Where? Behind his left ear. Adrian's expression changed. He knew exactly who she was talking about. And that man had been dead for 6 months. Impossible. Unless... Adrian suddenly heard footsteps outside. He raised his gun. Elena whispered, "What is it?" "Get down." She didn't argue. The warehouse doors exploded inward. Gunfire ripped through the room. Adrian grabbed Elena and threw her behind a concrete pillar as bullets tore through the walls. She hit the floor hard. "What the hell is happening?" "Stay down." "You brought me here?" "I didn't bring you here." Another burst of gunfire. Adrian leaned around the pillar and fired twice. A man screamed. Elena looked at him. "You have enemies inside your own organization. Apparently. You don't sound surprised." "I'm not." Adrian fired again. Then he grabbed Elena by the wrist. "Move." They ran. He pulled her through a narrow corridor as bullets followed them. Elena stumbled. Adrian caught her before she fell. For 1 second, their bodies collided. His hand was around her waist. Her palm pressed against his chest. Both of them froze. Rainwater dripped from his black shirt. Her breathing was uneven. His eyes dropped to her lips. Only for a second. Then he released her. "Keep moving." Elena stared after him. "You're welcome," she muttered. He looked back. "For what?" "Saving your life. I saved yours." "You were standing in front of me. You were standing behind me. So you're welcome." Despite everything happening around them, the corner of Elena's mouth lifted. "You're insufferable. And you're still alive. Unfortunately." They reached a steel emergency door. Adrian kicked it open. Cold rain slammed into them. A black SUV waited outside. His driver was dead behind the wheel. Adrian stopped. Elena walked into his back. "What?" He stared at the vehicle, then at the dead driver, then at Elena. They knew where we'd be. "Who?" "That's what I'm going to find out." He pulled out his phone. No signal. He looked toward the road. 3 black vehicles appeared through the rain. Adrian grabbed Elena's hand. "Run!" They disappeared into the darkness. 20 minutes later, Elena was sitting inside a private room on the top floor of Adrian Vale's penthouse. She had expected a fortress. She had expected armed guards. She had expected marble floors, cold furniture, and the kind of luxury that screamed money. She hadn't expected silence. The penthouse was almost unnervingly quiet. Adrian stood by the window, speaking to one of his men. Elena watched him. Even from behind, he carried himself like a man who had never been told no. Tall, broad shoulders, black suit, dark hair still damp from the rain. There was a thin scar running from the base of his neck toward his collarbone. She had heard stories about Adrian Vale since she was a teenager. Chicago's youngest crime lord. The man who had taken over his father's organization at 27. The man who had dismantled 3 rival families in less than 2 years. The man who never married, never trusted, never forgave, and supposedly never loved. Elena had always assumed those stories were exaggerated. Now she wasn't so sure. Adrian ended the call and walked toward her. He placed a folder on the table. "Your father." Elena looked down. "What about him?" "He wasn't killed by natural causes." Her face went still. "I know." Adrian studied her reaction. "You knew." "My father told me someone was trying to kill him." "Who?" "He didn't know." "Convenient." "Not really." She opened the folder. Inside were photographs, financial records, bank transfers, names, dates. One photograph made her blood run cold. A younger version of Adrian's father stood beside a man she recognized immediately. Her father. But there was someone else in the photograph. A little girl stood between them. Elena stared. Adrian moved closer. "That's Sofia." Elena's breath caught. The photograph was dated 11 years ago. 3 months after Sofia was supposedly missing. Adrian's voice dropped. "She was alive." Elena looked up. "Yes. Where was this taken?" My father never told me. Who took the photograph? I don't know. Adrian picked up another document. This was found in your father's safe. Elena read the first line. Her face drained of color. What? Adrian watched her. Read it. She did. Then she looked at him. This isn't possible. What does it say? Elena swallowed. It's a payment record. To whom? She turned the paper toward him. The recipient's name was partially burned. Only the first few letters remained. Sof. Adrian's breathing stopped. Elena whispered. Someone was paying money every month. To Sofia. Yes. For 11 years. Adrian stared at the document. 11 years. Every month. Someone had been keeping his sister alive. Someone had known exactly where she was. Someone had been hiding her. And someone had been paying his father to keep the secret. Adrian suddenly understood why Elena had been targeted. He looked at her. Your father didn't send you to find me. Elena's eyes narrowed. What? He sent you because he knew he was going to die. And? He knew. Whoever killed him would come after you next. Silence. Elena looked toward the windows. Then why am I still alive? Adrian didn't answer. Because he had been asking himself the same question. A phone on the table began to ring. Neither of them moved. The number was unknown. Adrian picked it up. Who is this? Static. Then a woman's voice. Weak, terrified. Adrian? He froze. The world seemed to disappear around him. His fingers tightened around the phone. Who is this? A shaky breath came through the speaker. Then the woman whispered one word. Sofia. Adrian stood perfectly still. Elena watched the color drain from his face. The voice continued. Don't trust the Rossi girl. Elena's eyes widened. Then the call disconnected. Adrian slowly lowered the phone. His gaze moved to Elena. The room suddenly felt much colder. She stared back at him. I didn't know she'd call. Adrian's expression hardened. You expect me to believe that? I swear. How did Sofia get your number? I don't know. How did she know you were here? I don't know. Why did she tell me not to trust you? Elena stood. Because someone wants you to think I'm the enemy. Adrian took one step toward her. Maybe you are. She didn't back away. Then why did they try to kill me too? He stopped. That was the problem. It was the question neither of them could answer. Adrian looked down at the photograph again, then at Elena. For years, he had believed the Rossi family was responsible for destroying his life. Now the woman he had been prepared to kill might be the only person who could help him uncover the truth. And he hated how much he needed her. Elena looked at him. So what happens now? Adrian's eyes remained fixed on hers. Now? He picked up his gun. Now you stay here. She stared at him. Excuse me? You're not leaving this building. You don't get to lock me up. Until I know who's hunting you. Yes, I do. I'd rather take my chances. You already did. I survived. By luck. Elena stepped closer. Maybe I don't need you to protect me. Adrian's eyes darkened. Maybe you don't. His voice lowered. But until I know why someone is willing to kill half my organization just to get to you, you're staying where I can see you. She held his gaze. Neither moved. The hatred between them was still there. But something else had appeared beneath it. Something neither of them was ready to name. Adrian finally turned away. There's one bedroom available. Elena blinked. You're kidding.
You'll take it. You'll take it.
And where will you sleep? He looked over his shoulder. Don't worry about me. She folded her arms. I wasn't. For the first time that night, Adrian almost smiled. Almost. Then his phone vibrated again. A message appeared. One photograph. No explanation. Adrian opened it. His face went completely still. It was a photograph of Sofia, alive. Standing beside a man whose face had been deliberately blurred, and behind them was a location Adrian recognized immediately. His childhood home. The house that had burned to the ground 12 years ago. Below the photograph were 7 words. She knows what your father did. Adrian slowly looked at Elena, the woman he had spent years believing was his enemy, the woman who might be the key to finding his sister, the woman someone was desperately trying to kill. And suddenly, Adrian understood something far more dangerous than the possibility that his father had lied. Someone had been manipulating the war between the Vale and Rossi families for more than a decade, and they had just realized Adrian and Elena were standing on the same side, which meant the next move would not be a warning. It would be a kill order. The kill order arrived before sunrise. Adrian knew because the first bullet struck the bedroom window at 5:17 a.m. Glass exploded across the room. Elena woke with a scream. Adrian was already moving. He crossed the hallway in seconds, grabbed her around the waist, and pulled her to the floor as another bullet tore through the wall. "Stay down." "What happened?" "Someone found us." A third shot cracked through the penthouse. Adrian reached beneath his jacket and pulled out his gun. Elena stared at him. "You said this place was secure." "It was." "That's comforting." He looked at her. "Can you shoot?" She blinked. "Excuse me? Can you shoot?" "Yes." "Good." He tossed her a handgun. She caught it. Adrian stared for half a second. "You've used one before." "My father taught me." "Of course he did." Another bullet hit the window. Adrian moved toward the hallway. Elena grabbed his sleeve. "Where are you going?" "To find the shooter." "That's stupid." His eyes narrowed. "You're giving me orders now? I'm telling you that whoever did this wants you outside." He stopped. She pointed toward the broken window. "Look." Adrian glanced over. The bullet trajectory was wrong. The shooter wasn't trying to kill them. He was forcing them away from the bedroom. Adrian's expression changed. "You're right. I know. Don't get used to it." He walked toward the opposite corridor. Elena followed. "Where are we going?" "Basement." "Why?" "Because there's a second exit." "And the guards?" "Dead." She stopped. "What?" Adrian didn't slow down. 4 of them. Elena's stomach tightened. "How?" "Silenced weapons." They reached the elevator. Adrian pressed the button. Nothing happened. He looked at the control panel. The power had been cut. "Great," Elena muttered. Adrian pulled open the emergency stairwell. Down. They moved quickly. 3 floors. Then 4. At the 5th landing, Elena noticed something. "Adrian." He stopped. She pointed at the wall. A small red mark had been painted beside the door. Adrian stared at it. His expression became colder. "You know that symbol?" "Yes." "What is it?" "The black rose." Elena's face changed. "My father used that symbol." Adrian looked at her. "Your father? Not like this." She stepped closer. "It was an old family seal. Matteo stopped using it years ago." Adrian studied the mark. "No." "What?" "Someone wants us to think this came from your family." Elena's eyes narrowed. "So they're framing us." "Exactly." He looked at her. "And they're getting very good at it." They reached the basement. The emergency exit opened into a narrow alley behind the building. Rain had stopped. The city was waking up. Adrian walked to a black SUV parked beneath a streetlight. He opened the passenger door. Elena didn't move. "You're coming." "Where?" "Somewhere they can't find us." "You mean another place with windows?" He gave her a look. She sighed and got in. The drive lasted 20 minutes. Neither spoke. Elena watched Chicago pass outside. For the first time since she had been taken, she wasn't thinking about her own safety. She was thinking about Sofia, the phone call, the photograph, the words. "Don't trust the Rossi girl." She turned toward Adrian. "Do you believe her?" "No." The answer came immediately. Elena looked surprised. "You don't?" "I believe someone wants me to distrust you." "That's not the same thing." "No." He glanced at her. "I haven't decided what I believe about you." "Fair enough." A few seconds passed. Then Elena asked, "Do you believe Sofia is alive?" Adrian's hands tightened around the steering wheel. Yes, there was something different in his voice. Not the cold certainty he used with his men. Something softer. Something wounded. Elena looked away. I hope we find her. Adrian didn't respond, but his grip loosened slightly. The safe house was an old brownstone, hidden between two abandoned buildings. From the outside, it looked empty. Inside, it was surprisingly comfortable. Adrian locked the door behind them. You're staying here. Elena looked around. How many people know about this place? 3. Who? Me. That's 2. You don't need the third. She frowned. You're impossible. I've heard that. He walked into the kitchen. Elena followed. You need to eat. I'm not hungry. You've been awake all night. I'm aware. Then eat. She stared at him. Are you always this controlling? Usually. Charming. I wasn't trying to be. He opened the refrigerator. There was almost nothing inside. Elena raised an eyebrow. Your secret hideout has no food. I don't cook. Clearly. She pulled open a cabinet. Do you at least have coffee? Top shelf. She found a bag, then stopped. Adrian? What? This coffee expired 2 years ago. He looked over. Then don't drink it. She laughed. It escaped before she could stop it. Adrian stared at her. What? You laughed. So, I've never heard you laugh. I've never had much reason to. The smile disappeared from her face. For a moment, neither spoke. Then Adrian looked away. There's a grocery store 6 blocks away. I'm going. No. She turned. Why? Because someone is watching the building. You just said this place was safe. It is. But then why can't I leave? Because I don't know how many people are watching. Elena folded her arms. You can't keep me locked up forever. I'm aware. Then stop treating me like a prisoner. Adrian stepped closer. You're not a prisoner. Really? You're a liability. Her expression hardened. That's worse. He realized too late how the word sounded. Elena grabbed her coat. Fine. Where are you going? Anywhere that isn't 6 feet from you. She reached the door. Adrian caught her wrist. She turned sharply. Let go. He did, immediately. That surprised her. He looked at her hand, then at her face. I shouldn't have called you a liability. Elena said nothing. You've saved my life twice. 3 times. His eyebrow lifted. The warehouse, the shooting, and the coffee. He almost smiled. You're counting expired coffee. Absolutely. A quiet moment passed. Then Adrian said, I'm sorry. Elena stared at him. It was probably the first apology he had given anyone in years. Okay. She walked back into the kitchen. Now what? Adrian's phone vibrated. He looked down. A message. This time, there was no photograph, only an address and a sentence. Ask Elena what happened at the Rossi estate 12 years ago. Adrian slowly raised his eyes. Elena saw his expression. What? He turned the phone toward her. She read the message. Her face went pale. I don't understand. You were there. Where? At your family's estate. 12 years ago. Yes. Elena shook her head. I was 17. What happened that night? Nothing. Adrian stared at her. Think. I remember my father fighting with someone. Who? I don't know. You don't remember? I was told to go upstairs. By whom? My mother. Adrian stepped closer. What happened after that? Elena's breathing changed. She pressed her fingers against her temple. I heard shouting. From where? The study. Then, a gunshot. Adrian went still. How many? 1. Did you see anyone? No. Elena. She looked at him. I saw a little girl. Adrian froze. What girl? I don't know. What did she look like? Dark hair. How old? Maybe 13. Adrian's face changed. Sofia. Elena stared at him. I think so. You saw my sister. I didn't know who she was. What was she doing? She was crying. Where? In the hallway. Adrian stepped closer. What did she say? Elena closed her eyes. I don't remember. Try. She breathed slowly. Then something came back. A voice. A little girl's voice. Terrified. He's going to kill us. Adrian's stomach dropped. Who? Elena opened her eyes. I don't know. What else? She grabbed my hand. Elena's voice became quieter. She told me not to tell anyone. Why? Because she said. Elena stopped. She said what? She said, the man who killed your mother was still inside the house. Silence. Adrian stared at her. His mother had died 12 years ago. The official story had always been that Matteo Rossi ordered the hit. But Elena had just told him something impossible. The killer had been inside the Rossi estate, and Sofia had seen him. Adrian took a step back. Why didn't you tell anyone? I tried. When? The next morning. Who did you tell? My father. What did he say? Elena looked at him. He told me I was dreaming. Adrian's jaw tightened. Of course. He made me promise never to talk about it. Did you? I was 17. You remembered. Not everything, but enough. Elena looked down. Adrian, I didn't know. I know. His voice was quiet. That almost made it worse. She looked up. I swear, I didn't know what was happening. He nodded once. I believe you. Elena stared at him. You do? I believe you. Something shifted between them. The hatred was still there, but it had begun to lose its certainty. That night, Adrian spread old documents across the dining table. Elena sat across from him. For hours, they worked. Bank accounts, shipping manifests, property transfers, names, dates, everything connected to the Rossi and Vale families over the last 12 years. Then Elena noticed something. Wait. She pointed at a document. This company. Adrian looked. Vespa Holdings. Your father owned it. Yes. But look at the date. He did. The company had been transferred to a private trust 12 years ago. 3 days before Sofia disappeared, Adrian frowned. Who controls the trust? That's the strange part. Elena turned the page. No one. What? The beneficiary was never listed. Adrian leaned over the document. Then Elena noticed a signature. She went completely still. What? Adrian followed her gaze. The signature belonged to Adrian's father. But beneath it was another name, one neither of them expected. Elena whispered it. Marcus Vale. Adrian's face hardened. That's my uncle. Your uncle died 6 years ago. I know. Then how did he sign this? Adrian stared at the page. He suddenly stood. There's more. He grabbed another folder. Elena watched him pull out an old photograph. His uncle Marcus stood beside his father, and beside them, a third man. Elena leaned closer. She recognized him. Her eyes widened. No. Adrian looked at her. You know him? Elena's voice barely came out. That's Daniel Cross. Who? My father's attorney. Adrian's eyes narrowed. He died 11 years ago. No. Elena pointed at the photograph. He didn't. Adrian stared at her. How do you know? Because I saw him last month. Silence. The room seemed to shrink. Where? At my father's funeral. Adrian slowly put the photograph down. That's impossible. I know. Then the lights went out. Darkness swallowed the room. Elena stood. Adrian? Don't move. A sound came from upstairs. Footsteps. Slow. Deliberate. Someone was inside the house. Adrian reached for his weapon. Elena grabbed the flashlight. The footsteps stopped. Then a voice came from the hallway. A man's voice. Calm. Familiar. Adrian. He froze. Elena looked at him. Who is that? Adrian's face had gone pale. Because he knew that voice. He had heard it every Sunday growing up. He had heard it on the day his mother died. He had heard it 6 years ago at a funeral. A voice belonging to a man who was supposed to be dead. Adrian whispered one word. Marcus. The lights suddenly came back on. No one was there, but the front door was open. On the floor lay a single photograph. Adrian picked it up. It showed Sofia, alive, older now, standing in front of a hospital, and beside her stood Daniel Cross. On the back of the photograph, someone had written, "She never stopped waiting for you." Adrian looked at Elena. Then his phone rang. He answered. No one spoke. Instead, he heard a woman's breathing. Then Sofia whispered, "Adrian, don't come looking for me." His blood ran cold. Why? A pause. Then, because the person you're looking for is already standing beside you. The call ended. Adrian slowly turned toward Elena. She stared back at him. For the first time since they met, neither of them knew whether the person standing between them was an ally or the enemy they had been hunting all along. Adrian didn't point the gun at Elena. That was what scared her most. He simply stood there, staring at her, as if he were trying to decide whether everything he had learned about her was a lie. "Say something," Elena whispered. He didn't answer. "Adrian, you heard her." "Yes. She said the person I'm looking for is standing beside me." Elena's chest tightened. "And you think she meant me?" "I don't know what she meant, but you want to." His eyes met hers. "I want to know why everyone who gets close to this truth ends up dead." Elena swallowed. "I don't know." "That's becoming your favorite answer." She flinched. Adrian saw it. For a moment, something in his expression softened. Then his phone buzzed. A message. One sentence. 3 minutes. Adrian looked toward the windows. "Get down." Elena immediately dropped. The first explosion shook the entire house. The windows shattered. Adrian grabbed Elena and pulled her beneath the dining table as glass rained across the floor. What the hell was that? Car bomb. Another explosion. The house trembled. Elena covered her ears. Adrian drew his weapon. "Stay here." "No?" He looked at her. "What?" "I'm coming. You'll get killed. So will you. I'm trained for this. So am I." Adrian stared at her. Then he nodded. "Fine." They moved through the darkness. 2 armed men entered through the back door. Adrian fired first. One fell. The second disappeared behind the kitchen wall. Elena moved around the opposite side. She saw him before Adrian did. "Behind you." Adrian turned. The man fired. Elena tackled Adrian to the floor. The bullet struck the wall where his head had been. Adrian rolled, fired once, and the attacker collapsed. For a second, neither of them moved. Elena was lying partly on top of him. His hand rested against her waist. Their faces were inches apart. She could feel his heartbeat. Fast, furious, alive. Adrian stared at her. "You saved me. You owe me." Again. Again. Neither moved. Then Adrian's gaze dropped to her mouth. Elena noticed. Her breathing changed. He leaned forward slightly. She didn't pull away. The moment broke when another gunshot exploded upstairs. Adrian immediately pushed himself up. Later. Elena's cheeks burned. "Who said there'd be a later?" "I did." "That's very arrogant." "I know." They ran upstairs. The safe house was burning. Adrian stood outside as firefighters arrived. Elena watched the flames consume the place where they had spent the night, uncovering the truth. Everything was gone. The documents, the photographs, the records, all of it. Or almost all. Adrian reached into his jacket. He pulled out the photograph of Sofia. Elena stared. "You saved it. I don't lose things I can't replace." She looked at him. "Is that why you never loved anyone?" He glanced at her. "What? You said you never trusted anyone." "I never said that. Everyone knows. Everyone knows a lot of things that aren't true." Elena studied him. "Like what?" Adrian looked at the burning house. That I don't care. She didn't answer, because for the first time, she understood something. Adrian Vale wasn't emotionless. He was terrified of losing anything he loved. And that was why he had built himself into a man nobody could reach. They left before sunrise. Adrian drove them to an old private airfield outside the city. Elena sat beside him in silence. Eventually she asked, "Where are we going?" "Your father's second property." "I thought you said he didn't have one." "He didn't." She looked at him. "Then whose is it?" "My mother's." Elena went quiet. "Your mother. She left me something." "What?" "A message." Adrian parked beside a small hangar. They walked inside. An old private plane waited under the lights. Elena stared. "You have a plane." "I have several." "Of course you do." Adrian almost smiled. They boarded. Less than an hour later, they landed in a remote town near Lake Michigan. An old mansion stood hidden behind rows of trees. Adrian unlocked the front door. Dust covered the furniture. Elena looked around. "When was the last time you were here?" 12 years ago." "Why did you never come back?" "Because my mother died here." Elena stopped. "I'm sorry." Adrian nodded. He walked toward the fireplace, then reached behind a painting. A hidden compartment opened. Inside was a small metal box. Adrian removed it. His hands were shaking. Elena noticed. "Are you okay?" "Yes." "You don't look okay." "I'm fine." She stepped closer. "Adrian." He looked at her. For a second, he looked less like the most feared man in Chicago and more like the boy who had lost his mother. He opened the box. Inside was a letter and a key. The letter was addressed to him. He unfolded it. His eyes moved across the page, then stopped. "What does it say?" He didn't answer. Elena waited. Finally, he handed it to her. She read, "Adrian, if you're reading this, then I was right to be afraid. Your father is not the man you think he is." Elena looked up. Adrian said nothing. She continued, "He didn't order my death." Her breath caught. Adrian's eyes closed. The next sentence was worse. "Neither did Matteo Rossi." Elena looked at him. "My father wasn't responsible." "Then who was?" Elena continued reading. "The man responsible has been inside our family for years." Her hands began to tremble. "He will use Sofia to control Adrian. He will use Elena to control Matteo." She stopped. "What?" Adrian took the letter. He read the final lines. His expression changed. "What?" He turned the page. There was a name. One name. Adrian whispered it. "Marcus." Elena's stomach dropped. "Your uncle." Adrian nodded. "But he's dead." "Apparently not." Then the old house phone rang. Both of them froze. It rang again and again. Adrian picked it up. "Hello?" A man's voice answered. "You're finally reading your mother's letter." Adrian's blood ran cold. "Marcus." A quiet laugh. "You always were the smart one." Elena stepped closer. Adrian put the call on speaker. "Where is Sofia?" "Safe." "Where?" "You haven't earned that answer." Adrian's voice became deadly calm. "What do you want?" "Your empire. You already have money." "I don't want money." "What?" "I want control." Elena stared at the phone. Marcus continued. "Your father spent years pretending he controlled Chicago." "He didn't." "No." Marcus laughed softly. "I did." Adrian's expression hardened. "Why Sofia?" "Because she was the only person who could expose me." "Why keep her alive?" "Because I needed insurance." Adrian looked at Elena. Marcus continued. "And because I knew one day you would find the truth." "Then why let us?" "Because I wanted you to find it." Silence. "Why?" "Because now I know exactly how to destroy you." The line went dead. Adrian stared at the phone. Elena whispered, "He wanted us to discover the truth." "Yes." "Why?" Adrian looked at her. Because we're doing exactly what he planned. They spent the next 6 hours trying to understand Marcus's plan. Every road led back to one thing: the Vale organization. Marcus had quietly controlled its finances through shell companies. He had manipulated rival families. He had arranged betrayals. He had even created false evidence connecting the Rossi family to Adrian's mother's death. The war had never been between Adrian and Matteo. It had been engineered. And Sofia had been the one person who knew. Elena looked at the documents. Why did Marcus need my father? Political connections. Matteo refused? Apparently. So Marcus killed him. Yes, and blamed you. Adrian nodded. Elena looked at him. And he wanted you to kill me. Yes. She stared at the floor. All those years. Adrian stepped closer. Elena. She looked up. I hated you. I know. I thought your family destroyed mine. I thought yours destroyed mine. She laughed bitterly. She laughed bitterly. That's almost funny. Not really. No. She wiped at her eyes. It isn't. Adrian watched her. Then he said something she didn't expect. I'm sorry. Elena looked at him. For what? For every time I made you pay for something you didn't do. She swallowed. You thought I was guilty. I know. That doesn't make it okay. No. He stepped closer. But I can make sure it never happens again. Elena looked into his eyes. And how exactly do you plan to do that? By trusting you. Her breath caught. You don't trust anyone. I know. Then why me? Adrian's expression softened. Because when you had every reason to hate me, you still saved my life. Elena's voice became quiet. So did you. I was protecting an asset. She smiled faintly. That's a terrible excuse. I know. He moved closer. This time, neither of them looked away. I don't know what this is, Elena whispered. Neither do I. But I know I don't hate you anymore. Adrian's eyes lowered to her lips. Good. That's all you have to say? No. He gently touched her cheek. Elena didn't move. His hand was warm. Careful. Nothing like the man she had imagined him to be. I've spent 12 years believing you were the enemy. And now? Now I'm starting to think losing you would scare me more than losing the war. Elena's eyes filled with tears. Adrian, he kissed her. Not violently, not desperately. Slowly, like he was giving her every chance to stop him. She didn't. Her fingers caught the front of his shirt. The kiss deepened. For one moment, there was no Marcus, no Sofia. No families, no blood feud. Just two people who had spent years hating each other because someone else had made sure they never knew the truth. When they finally separated, Elena rested her forehead against his. This is a terrible idea. Probably. We're supposed to be enemies. That part seems to be over. She smiled. You're still arrogant. You're still stubborn. I can live with that. So can I. Then Elena's phone rang. She pulled it from her pocket. Unknown number. She answered. Hello. Silence. Then a voice. Not Marcus. A woman. Sofia. Elena. Elena's face changed. Sofia. Adrian immediately moved closer. Sofia's voice trembled. You have to listen to me. We're listening. Marcus isn't the only one. Adrian's eyes narrowed. What do you mean? I mean. A crash sounded in the background. Sofia gasped. He's here. Adrian reached for the phone. Where are you? Underground. Where? I don't know. Look around. There's a red door. Adrian's expression changed. Elena. She looked at him. I know where that is. Where? My father's old estate. Adrian stared. Sofia whispered. He's taking me to the room where your mother died. The call suddenly filled with static. Then one final sentence came through. Adrian, your mother wasn't his first victim. The line went dead. Adrian looked at Elena. She was already reaching for her coat. Let's go. He caught her hand. This is dangerous. She looked at him. I know. You could die. So could you. He stared at her, then tightened his grip around her hand. Stay beside me. Elena nodded. Always. Neither of them knew that across the lake, inside a hidden underground room, Sofia was staring at a man standing behind her. A man Adrian believed had been dead for 6 years. And the man smiled when he saw the security cameras showing Adrian and Elena leaving the mansion. Perfect, Marcus said. Now bring them home. He turned towards Sofia. And this time, neither one of them gets out alive. By the time Adrian and Elena reached the Rossi estate, the house was already on fire. Flames climbed the old stone walls, turning the windows into glowing orange squares against the night. Adrian slammed the SUV into park. Elena barely had time to open her door before he was out. Wait! He turned. She grabbed the gun he had given her. If you're going in, I'm going with you. No, Adrian. I said no. She stepped toward him. You don't get to decide that anymore. His expression hardened. This isn't an argument. It is if you're planning to walk into a trap alone. He looked at the burning house, then back at her. For 1 second, the ruthless Mafia boss disappeared. All that remained was a man terrified of losing someone else. I can't lose you. Elena's expression softened. Then don't. She reached for his hand. Bring me with you. Adrian stared at their joined hands, then nodded. Stay close. Always. They ran toward the house. The front doors were already open. Smoke rolled across the marble floor. Adrian covered his mouth with his sleeve. Underground. Elena nodded. My father had tunnels beneath the estate. How do you know? I grew up here. They rushed toward the study. The room looked exactly as Elena remembered. The same fireplace. The same heavy curtains. The same desk where her father had spent countless nights making phone calls he never explained. She crossed to the bookcase. Help me. Adrian pushed aside the shelves. Nothing happened. Elena stared at the wall. Wait. She remembered something. A small brass lion sat on the mantel. She turned it. A mechanism clicked. The bookcase slid open. A staircase descended into darkness. Adrian looked at her. You never mentioned this. I forgot. You forgot a secret tunnel under your house? I was 17. Fair. They descended. The deeper they went, the quieter the fire became. Then they heard something. A woman's voice. Adrian! Sofia. He ran. Elena followed. The tunnel opened into a large underground chamber. Sofia was there. Older. Thinner. Her wrists were tied to a chair. But she was alive. Adrian stopped breathing. Sofia. Her eyes filled with tears. Adrian. He crossed the room and cut the restraints. For several seconds, neither spoke. Then Sofia threw her arms around him. Adrian held her tightly. Elena watched from a few feet away. The man who had terrified an entire city was trembling. He had found his little sister. After 11 years, Sofia pulled back. You came. I told you I would. You shouldn't have. Adrian frowned. What? Sofia looked at Elena, then toward the darkness behind them. Because he wanted you here. A gunshot exploded. Adrian pushed Sofia to the ground. Elena ducked. Bullets tore through the chamber. Move! They scattered. Adrian fired toward the muzzle flash. A figure disappeared behind a concrete pillar. Marcus! Silence. Then laughter. Still angry, nephew. Adrian's eyes burned. You took 11 years from her. I gave her 11 years. You imprisoned her. I protected her. Sofia shouted. You killed Mom! The laughter stopped. Marcus stepped into the light. He looked almost exactly as Adrian remembered. Older, grey at the temples, calm, elegant, completely unafraid. Elena raised her weapon. Marcus looked at her. And you must be Elena. You know who I am. I've known who you were since the day you were born. Adrian stepped in front of Elena. Marcus smiled, still protecting her. You're not touching her. I don't need to. Marcus looked around the chamber. You both came here willingly. Adrian's eyes narrowed. What do you want? Everything. You already said that. I changed my mind. Marcus gestured toward the walls. Hidden monitors flickered on. Adrian stared. Live images appeared. His warehouses. His casino. His shipping docks. His private security headquarters. Every location was being monitored. Marcus smiled. While you were chasing me, I took your empire. Adrian's face remained calm. But Elena knew him well enough now to see the tension in his jaw. You're lying. No. Marcus pressed a button. A video appeared. Adrian's trusted lieutenant, Victor Hale, stood inside one of the warehouses. Victor turned toward the camera. Then he removed a black folder from a safe. Adrian stared. Victor. Marcus nodded. He has been working for me for 8 years. Adrian's expression didn't change. But Sofia whispered, 8 years. Marcus laughed. You thought your organization was loyal. Adrian raised his gun. You're finished. Marcus looked amused. Am I? He pressed another button. The screens changed. This time, they showed politicians, police officials, judges, businessmen. All of them had received money from Marcus. Adrian stared. He owns half the city. Elena whispered. No. Adrian looked at her. She pointed at the screens. Look at the dates. The payments had stopped 6 months ago. Marcus wasn't buying loyalty anymore. He had already secured it. Elena looked at Adrian. He doesn't need the city. Adrian understood. He needs something else. Marcus's smile disappeared. You always were your mother's son. Adrian's voice became cold. What do you want? Marcus looked at Elena. The Rossi bloodline. She froze. What? Your father hid something from everyone. Elena shook her head. My father is dead. Exactly. Marcus stepped closer. He took the one thing I needed. What? The ledger. Adrian's eyes narrowed. What ledger? Marcus smiled. The original ledger. Elena suddenly remembered. Her father's study, the locked drawer, the strange old book she had seen as a child. Where is it? Marcus looked at her. You know. No. You've seen it. Elena's memory flashed. A black leather book. Her father placing it inside a hidden compartment. She had been told never to touch it. At my father's estate. Where? Elena looked at Marcus. I don't remember. Marcus sighed. Then Sofia will. Sofia's face went pale. Marcus turned toward her. Your brother's entire life was built on one lie. Adrian moved forward. Don't. Your mother wasn't killed because of Matteo Rossi. Adrian froze. She was killed because she discovered the ledger. What does it contain? Every name. Marcus smiled. Every payment, every politician, every judge, every family that ever sold its loyalty. Adrian stared at him. Then why didn't you destroy it? Because power is more useful when everyone is afraid of what you could reveal. Elena looked at Sofia. You know where it is. Sofia shook her head. No. Marcus raised his weapon. Think carefully. Adrian stepped between them. Take me. Marcus laughed. You still think you're in control. Then the chamber doors slammed shut. A red light began flashing. Elena looked around. What is that? Marcus stepped backward. Your father's security system. Adrian's face changed. What did you activate? Nothing. Marcus smiled. Your father did. A timer appeared on one of the screens. 02. Elena stared. What happens in 2 minutes? Marcus turned toward the exit. The room fills with gas. Adrian aimed his gun. Stop. Marcus kept walking. You have 2 choices. He looked over his shoulder. Save Sofia. Then he looked at Elena. Or save the ledger. The door behind him closed. Adrian ran toward it. Locked. Marcus. No response. The timer continued. 01:37. Sofia coughed. Elena looked at the vents. Adrian! He turned. There's another exit. Where? She pointed toward the floor. My father built emergency tunnels beneath this room. Adrian searched the walls. Nothing. Elena dropped to her knees. There. She found a metal panel beneath the chair. Adrian ripped it open. A narrow tunnel appeared. Go. Sofia crawled inside. Elena followed. Adrian remained behind. Adrian! Go. She turned. Now. He looked at the timer. 00:58. Elena grabbed his hand. I'm not leaving you. He stared at her. Elena, you told me to stay beside you. She pulled him toward the tunnel. Then stop trying to make me break my promise. He followed. The second they entered, the chamber doors sealed. Gas began pouring into the room. They crawled through the narrow passage as alarms screamed behind them. Sofia suddenly stopped. Wait! She pointed ahead. A second door. Locked. Adrian tried it. Nothing. Elena noticed a keypad. 4 numbers. What is the code? Sofia stared at it. I don't know. Elena looked at the keypad. Then remembered. Her father's birthday. She entered the numbers. Nothing. Adrian tried Sofia's birth date. Nothing. Then Elena thought about the night her father had died. A date. She entered it. The door opened. They rushed through. They emerged inside an abandoned chapel 2 blocks from the estate. Adrian collapsed against the wall, breathing hard. Sofia sat beside him. Elena checked both of them. No injuries. Then she noticed something in Sofia's hand. A small metal key. Where did you get that? Sofia looked down. Marcus gave it to me years ago. Adrian stared. Why? He said I'd need it when you found me. Elena took the key. There was a symbol engraved on it. A black rose. Her father's seal. She turned it over. There were initials. DC. Daniel Cross. Elena's face went pale. The ledger. Adrian looked at her. What? Daniel Cross had it. But he's dead. He isn't. Sofia looked at them. He was the one who took me. Adrian froze. Daniel? Sofia nodded. He worked with Marcus, Elena whispered. Then why did Marcus pretend Daniel was dead? Sofia's eyes filled with fear. Because Daniel betrayed him. Adrian stood. Where is Daniel now? Sofia shook her head. I don't know. Then her eyes moved toward Elena. But I know where he keeps the ledger. Where? Sofia whispered the name of an old bank. The First National. Adrian's expression changed. That's impossible. Why? Because the bank was closed 8 years ago. Elena looked at him. Then why would Daniel keep it there? Adrian's phone buzzed. A message appeared. Come alone. Then another. Bring Elena. A third message followed. Or Sofia dies. Adrian stared at the screen. Elena stepped beside him. We're going. No. She looked at him. You promised. This is different. No. She took his hand. It's exactly the same. He stared at her. We face it together. For a long moment, Adrian said nothing. Then he pulled her into his arms. Not as a protector, not as a crime lord, as a man who had finally realized he couldn't survive another loss. I love you. Elena froze. The words had come without calculation, without strategy, without fear. Adrian held her tighter. I should have told you before. She smiled against his chest. I love you too. Sofia looked away, smiling through her tears. Then a gunshot shattered the chapel window. Everyone dropped. A bullet struck the wall, inches from Elena's head. Adrian pulled her down. Another shot. Then another. He looked toward the broken window. The shooter was gone, but something had been thrown through the opening. A black envelope. Elena picked it up. Inside was a single photograph. Daniel Cross stood outside the abandoned bank. Beside him was Victor Hale, and beside them, Marcus Vale. Elena stared. Adrian's face hardened. They're all working together. Sofia shook her head. No. What? She pointed to the photograph. Look at Marcus. Adrian did. Marcus wasn't looking at the camera. He was looking at Daniel, and Daniel was holding a gun against Marcus's back. Sofia whispered, "Marcus isn't in control anymore." Elena's eyes widened. Then who is? A fourth figure stood in the shadows behind them. Only part of his face was visible, but Adrian recognized the scar immediately, behind the left ear. The same scar belonging to the man who had supposedly died 6 months ago. The same man Elena had seen at her father's funeral. The same man who had been connected to Sofia's disappearance. Daniel Cross. Adrian looked at Elena. "This ends tonight." Elena tightened her grip around his hand. "No." She looked toward the photograph. "This starts tonight." And somewhere beneath the abandoned bank, a steel vault door began to open. Inside was the ledger that could destroy an entire city, and the man waiting beside it had already made his choice. He wasn't planning to kill Adrian. He was planning to make Adrian kill Marcus. The vault door opened with a slow, metallic groan. Daniel Cross stood in the darkness, one hand resting on the black leather ledger. Marcus was on his knees in front of him. His expensive suit was torn. Blood ran from the corner of his mouth. Victor Hale stood nearby with a gun pressed against Marcus's head. Daniel smiled. "You know what I find amusing, Marcus?" Marcus said nothing. "After all these years, you still believe you were the mastermind." Daniel lifted the ledger. "You were only useful." Marcus looked up. "You don't understand what you've started." "Oh, I understand perfectly." Daniel opened the ledger. Every page contained names: judges, police chiefs, politicians, business owners, mafia families, bankers, people who had spent decades pretending to be untouchable. Daniel ran his finger across the pages. "This book doesn't give someone power," he smiled. "It gives them the ability to destroy anyone who has power." Marcus stared at him. "And what do you think Adrian will do when he sees this?" Daniel's smile widened. "Exactly what I want." The abandoned bank was silent when Adrian and Elena arrived. Sofia stayed behind in a secure vehicle with 2 trusted guards. Adrian didn't want her anywhere near the confrontation. Elena checked her weapon. Adrian watched her. "You don't have to come inside." She looked at him. "You're still doing that." "What?" "Trying to protect me by leaving me behind." He stepped closer. "This time I'm asking." Elena softened. "Then I'm staying." Adrian nodded. They entered the bank. The lobby was dark. Dust covered the old marble floor. Their footsteps echoed through the empty building. Elena whispered, "Where's the vault?" "Basement." They descended. Halfway down the stairs, the lights came on. Adrian stopped. A voice came through the speakers. "Welcome home, Daniel Cross." Elena's stomach tightened. "He's watching us." "I know." Adrian looked around. Cameras were hidden in the ceiling. Daniel's voice returned. "You've spent 12 years blaming the wrong people." Adrian's jaw tightened. "Show yourself." "Not yet. You always did prefer hiding." A laugh came through the speakers. "Your father taught you well." Adrian stopped. "Don't talk about my father." "Why?" Daniel's voice became colder. "Because he was just as guilty as everyone else." Elena looked at Adrian. "He's trying to provoke you." "I know. Don't give him what he wants." Adrian looked at her, then nodded. They continued. At the end of the hallway stood a steel door. Adrian entered a code. The door opened. The vault was empty, except for a single chair and a television. The screen flickered on. Daniel appeared. Behind him stood Marcus, Victor, and Sofia. Adrian froze. "Where is she? Where is she?" Daniel smiled. "Safe. You said she would stay out of this." "Plans change." Elena stepped forward. "What do you want?" Daniel looked at her. "You." Adrian's expression hardened. "She's not part of your deal." "She has always been part of the deal." Daniel turned toward Elena through the screen. "Your father stole the ledger. He hid it." "Yes." "Why?" "Because he discovered what Marcus had done." Elena shook her head. "My father wouldn't work with criminals." Daniel laughed. Your father built his empire on them. He wasn't like you. No. Daniel smiled. He was worse. Elena's expression hardened. You're lying. Ask him. Daniel pointed toward Marcus. He knows. Marcus looked away. Elena's eyes narrowed. Is it true? Marcus didn't answer. Daniel laughed. See? Adrian stepped toward the screen. Enough. Daniel looked at him. You want the truth? Yes. Then I'll give it to you. The screen changed. A recording appeared. It showed Adrian's mother. Alive. Standing in the same underground chamber. She was talking to someone. Marcus. Elena watched. Adrian stopped breathing. His mother's voice came through the speakers. I know what you're doing. Marcus looked younger. This city belongs to whoever is willing to take it. You've already killed people. I've protected this family by destroying other families. Marcus didn't answer. Adrian's mother continued. I found the ledger. Marcus's expression changed. And I know Daniel is working with you. Elena looked at Daniel. The recording continued. I won't let you use Adrian. Marcus stepped closer to Adrian's mother. You don't understand. I understand perfectly. I need control. You need power. Same thing. Adrian's mother shook her head. No. She looked directly at the camera. Power is what you have when everyone fears you. She paused. Control is what you have when they love you. Adrian's eyes filled with tears. His mother had always believed that. Daniel stopped the recording. Silence filled the vault. Adrian stared at the screen. Who killed her? Daniel smiled. Marcus pulled the trigger. Marcus looked down. Adrian turned toward him. For the first time, pure hatred crossed his face. Marcus whispered, Adrian. Don't. Adrian raised his gun. Elena grabbed his arm. No. He looked at her. He killed my mother. I know. I spent 12 years blaming your father. I know. Get out of my way. Elena didn't move. You promised me. His breathing became heavier. What? You promised we would end this together. Adrian stared at her, then slowly lowered the gun. Daniel's expression changed. He hadn't expected that. Interesting. Elena looked at the screen. You wanted him to kill Marcus. Daniel smiled. Of course. Why? Because then Adrian becomes exactly what I need him to become. Adrian frowned. What does that mean? Daniel leaned toward the camera. The most powerful criminal in Chicago, with a conscience. Elena understood first. You wanted him to kill Marcus, so you could expose him. Daniel smiled. Exactly. He pressed a button. The vault doors locked. Then another screen came alive. A live news broadcast appeared. The headline filled the screen. Mafia boss Adrian Vale, accused of multiple murders. Photos appeared. Adrian, his organization, his weapons, his properties, his bank accounts, everything. Daniel had prepared the evidence. Elena stared. He wants to make you the villain. Adrian's face became cold. Then we give him someone else. He pulled out his phone. Victor. No response. Adrian called again. This time, Victor answered. Boss. Adrian's voice was calm. How many men do you have? 23. How many are loyal? A pause. 17. Good. Adrian looked at Elena. Take the bank. Victor hesitated. Boss, what about you? I'm finishing something. He ended the call. Elena stared at him. What are you doing? Buying us time. With what? Adrian looked at the ledger. The truth. Daniel watched the security cameras. He saw Adrian and Elena moving toward the vault. He's taking the ledger. Marcus said nothing. Daniel turned toward him. Stop looking at me like that. You'll lose. Daniel laughed. You sound very confident. You forgot one thing. What? Adrian isn't his father. Marcus looked toward the cameras. He won't make the same mistake. Daniel's smile disappeared. What mistake? Marcus looked at him. Trusting you. Daniel raised his gun. A sound echoed from the hallway. Gunfire. Victor's men had arrived. Daniel cursed. Move. Marcus smiled. Too late. The bank erupted into chaos. Men rushed through the corridors. Gunfire echoed through the basement. Adrian and Elena reached the control room. Daniel was gone. But the ledger remained. Elena grabbed it. We have it. Adrian looked at the security monitors. Sofia was gone. Where is my sister? A monitor showed an empty room. Then another. Nothing. Elena noticed a door opening on one of the screens. Adrian. He turned. Look. Daniel was dragging Sofia through a tunnel beneath the bank. Adrian ran. Elena followed. They reached the tunnel just as Daniel pushed Sofia toward an underground exit. Stop! Daniel turned. He pointed his gun at Sofia. Adrian froze. Let her go. You have the ledger. Yes. Then drop your weapon. Adrian slowly lowered his gun. Elena stepped forward. Daniel. He looked at her. You ruined everything. No. She shook her head. You ruined yourself. Daniel laughed. You think you're different from me. I am. You've spent your entire life benefiting from your father's empire. I didn't choose it. Neither did Adrian. Elena looked at Adrian, then back at Daniel. But we can choose what happens next. Daniel's expression changed. Behind him, Sofia suddenly kicked his knee. He stumbled. Adrian moved. He crossed the distance in seconds. Daniel fired. The bullet struck Adrian's shoulder. Elena screamed. Adrian kept moving. He tackled Daniel. The gun skidded across the floor. They fought brutally. Daniel was older, but experienced. He struck Adrian across the face. Adrian fell. Daniel reached for the gun. Elena kicked it away. Daniel turned toward her. You. He lunged. Elena stepped aside. He crashed into the wall. Adrian grabbed him from behind. Daniel fought desperately, then stopped. Because Victor's men had surrounded him. Daniel looked around. There was nowhere to run. Adrian held him at gunpoint. Daniel smiled. You won't kill me. Adrian stared. You're right. Daniel's smile widened. I knew it. Adrian lowered the weapon. Because you're going to spend the rest of your life knowing you failed. Daniel's smile disappeared. Police sirens approached in the distance. Elena looked at Adrian. You called them? He nodded. The ledger has enough evidence to destroy everyone connected to this. Daniel stared at the black book. No. Adrian looked at him. Yes. Daniel shook his head. You don't understand. Adrian stepped closer. I understand perfectly. He leaned toward him. You wanted me to become a monster. Adrian looked at Elena. But I chose something else. 3 months later, Chicago had changed. Marcus Vale was sentenced to life in prison. Daniel Cross received multiple life sentences. Victor Hale testified against the remaining members of the organization. Dozens of corrupt officials were arrested. The Rossi and Vale empires were dismantled. Adrian sold the businesses connected to organized crime. Then he rebuilt. Legally. Slowly. For the first time in generations, the Vale name wasn't associated with blood. It was associated with legitimate businesses, security, real estate, charitable foundations. And Elena was beside him through all of it. Not behind him, beside him. They stood on the balcony of their new home, overlooking Lake Michigan. Sofia was downstairs laughing with friends. Adrian wrapped his arms around Elena from behind. You know, he said, when I first met you, I wanted to kill you. Elena smiled. I remember. I was very committed to it. You were terrible at it. He laughed. She turned in his arms. You know what I remember? What? You told me I was a liability. Adrian smiled. You were. She raised an eyebrow. Careful. He kissed her forehead. The most dangerous liability I've ever had. She smiled. Better. Adrian reached into his pocket. Elena looked down. A small black box. Her eyes widened. Adrian. I spent most of my life believing love made people weak. He opened the box. Inside was a ring. But you taught me something. He took her hand. Love doesn't make you weak. He lowered himself onto one knee. It gives you someone worth fighting for. Elena's eyes filled with tears. Adrian, Elena Rossi, will you marry me? She laughed through her tears. You're asking after everything we've survived. I figured surviving me was probably the hardest part. She shook her head. You're still arrogant. And you're still stubborn. She held out her hand. Yes. He slipped the ring onto her finger, then stood and kissed her. Behind them, the sun disappeared over the lake. For years, their families had been enemies. For years, other people had decided what they were supposed to become. But in the end, neither Adrian nor Elena chose revenge. They chose each other. And for the first time in generations, the Vale and Rossi names were no longer written in blood. They were written together, not as enemies. Not as survivors, but as partners, as family, as the two people who had discovered that sometimes the person you were taught to hate was the one person who could finally teach you how to love.